So let me know if you like this pure tactical analysis type of video, less editing, but it's going to mean I can get more videos out like this. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section if you would tune into these sorts of videos, just so I can gauge what sort of content I should do. So in this video, I'm going to be breaking down how Fabian Hürzeler's Brighton were able to break down Everton's 4-4-2 defensive shape with this particular attacking pattern of play, specifically showing you certain movements from the central midfielders that I think Ten Hag should incorporate into his United possession setup. And when you watch this move, I think you will agree that you could see a lot of the United players operating effectively in a similar pattern of play. So if you watched United against Fulham, or really United over the past year or so, you'll probably know that we are significantly better when it comes to progressing the ball into the final third and creating chances in the second half than we were able to in the first half. And this is because Ten Hag's system is a lot more effective at taking advantage of the opposition's stretched midfield and the space that they have vacated straight after a turnover. Whereas once the opposition are able to drop back and get into their defensive shape, this is where we see United struggle to break teams down. Now Hürzeler's midfield was very adaptable against Everton, moving from a double pivot close to the centre backs in their own defensive third, literally on the edge of their own box when Everton looked to press them high. Van Hecke, the right-sided centre back, has the ball and is about to get moved over to the left side, with Brighton currently in a 2-3 shape in the deeper part of the pitch. But as Hinchelwood, the Brighton left back, receives the ball, look at the positioning and the movement of what is essentially the two central midfielders ahead of the pivot. Now I know that João Pedro is a centre forward, but if you just look at the shape of the midfield, you can easily relate it to United, with two of Mainu, Mount or Bruno Fernandes being in this advanced central midfield position where Pedro and Milner are positioned. But unlike Manchester United's midfield against Fulham, with Brighton's midfield we see not just vertical movement towards and away from the ball, but also horizontal movement timed perfectly to open up a passing lane down the outside of the 4-4-2 defensive block. Pedro here has drifted away from the central midfielder on his inside and is now taking up a position not just in behind Jack Harrison but also wide of him as well. But what exactly is the benefit of this movement? Well, I'm going to come on to that in just a bit, but before that, if you want to check out any of the new season jerseys, go over to Jersey FIFA. They've also got the club retro and international jerseys as well. You can use code Atlantis at checkout for a discount. A link will be in my Instagram bio, which I will leave linked in the description. So the ball doesn't go out to João Pedro on the left, but when Brighton shift the ball to the right side, this is where we see this third man on the flank pattern of play at its most potent, as once the ball gets switched to Van Hecke, the right-sided centre-back, now Brighton want to look to bait the Everton press, but not to play through the centre, which was the primary strategy of Roberto De Zerbi's Brighton, but instead they are going to play around the press. Doucouré in the front two applies pressure to Van Hecke, but the key is Dwight McNeil on the left, as with Milner positioned behind him, but also between him and Idrissa Gueye on his inside, McNeil now has a positional dilemma. Either he holds his position, stopping the space opening up behind him for Milner to move into, but as a consequence means that Everton's press becomes disjointed, and Veltman now has space to drive forward past the Everton front two, or McNeil can do what I think Dyche almost certainly would have instructed him to do, which is to move out and continue to apply the pressure that the front two have started, but in doing so, because of how wide Brighton's midfield three are, in particular Milner and Pedro ahead of Weaver, now Veltman is able to feed the ball down the side of McNeil, Milner becomes a third man on the flank, able to receive the ball and turn into space, and this is an attacking pattern of play that I talked about a while ago. If I can find that video, I'll leave it linked in the description, but the part Milner plays in this goal is crucial, and I could easily see someone like Mason Mount doing this, and the key is to not just hold a central position and look to receive the ball between the lines, but actively be looking to move both vertically and horizontally in order to open up passing lanes, as Milner has done here. And when Milner receives the ball, because of his wide position, even Idrissa Gueye can't move out to close him down quickly enough and stop him playing a pass into the Everton half into Minte's feet, who initially started wide, allowing that half space to open up and only then making the run in field when Milner is ready to play that forward pass. And I would love to see Ten Hag start to incorporate this out to in timed movement into his possession strategy, as it's something that Arteta has done very successfully with Saka, and it's something that I could see Ahmad excelling at as well. But even here you can see Minte has two obvious passing options. He can either lay it back to Weaver or play the pass into Welbeck, but instead he does exceptionally well to disguise his technique before then driving through both Everton players, taking them out of the game, and now you can see João Pedro on the far side in the left sided half space, but more importantly Matoma on the far side who has held his width. And now when the pass goes out to Mitoma, Brighton have gone from having the ball in front of Everton's compact 4-4-2 defensive shape, midway inside their own half, to isolating Mitoma against Ashley Young inside of his own box, with their midfield still racing back from their positions higher up the pitch. And just imagine if you take out Brighton's backline for Dalot, Martinez, De Ligt and Mazraoui, with a midfielder say Casemiro with Mason Mount and Bruno Fernandes, or maybe Mainu in there, playing those same central midfield roles that we saw Milner and João Pedro playing in this example, with Ahmad being the left-footed right winger coming in from the flank and Rashford or Garnacho on the far side looking to isolate their man in a 1v1. To me, this is exactly the sort of pattern of play that I think would work excellently with the players that Ten Hag has at his disposal. So thank you for watching. If you enjoyed that sort of video, let me know in the comment section below, and check out my Patreon where you can sign up to my newsletter. You can check out my Premier League predictions that will also be linked in the description below.